Hi, I'm Sharon Landon, and welcome back to Old Asian Lady. Today, my guest is Jean-Jacques Chen, or just JJ. He is a French-born, Belgium-raised Taiwanese. He's also an animation film director, storyboarder, 2D animator, editor, and photographer. He's worked extensively in Belgium and Taiwan on several animation projects, including MVs, TV series, feature films, and video games. We chat about his life in Belgium, reasons why he moved back to Taiwan, the ups and downs that he's had in his life, and he also shares concerns about his mother's cancer and how that influences his choices for the future. JJ, thanks a lot for stopping by today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to first. It's great to see you. We don't see each other very often anymore, it's always good to see people who have been here for a long time. That we used to hang out for years.
Yeah, it's been a while. It really has.
Now I kind of live like a hermit on top of my mountain, like in Xindian, at the southern tip of the town. So I'm like at 1 hour and a half of town, and I know I don't see anybody anymore. So it's always great to actually see old friends and have that kind of conversation.
Yeah, well, anyway, I'm glad you're here. And you're talking about the hermit. You look like you could be a hermit up in the mountain kind of thing.
Well, now I kind of like live up to my reputation, I guess.
Yeah, so you were... Okay, your profile actually said that you're a French-born Belgian Taiwanese. Now, so what does that mean? Because if you're if you're born in Belgium, why do you say that you're French-born?
That's the little detail.
Yeah.
So the devil is always in the little details. I was actually born in Paris,
right?
In France. So yeah, nobody's perfect, unfortunately, but I have a very big love-hate relationship with Paris. I love the town. I love Paris, but I just really don't like Parisians. But no, I was born in Paris because my parents were migrant there. So if we want the full story, basically my parents were born in China.
In China?
In China,
Okay.
not in Taiwan. So they are Western, basically. So they came to Taiwan during the Civil War when they were kids.
Right, or like my parents.
So they were part of the KMT. Like my grandparents both, from my father's side and my mother's side, were both part of the military. So when the KMT lost the Civil War, they came to Taiwan. They were kids at the time. They grew up here, basically. And then they did all the studies here, then migrate to France first. First my dad, before he met my mom. And he spent a few years there working in restaurants, trying to get some connection in the diaspora there. Then came back here, met my mom, they married, and then they went back to France. And they spent a few years there, like working on their restaurants. I was born there on the last year of when they were in France. Then we moved to Belgium, and that's where I grew up. So yeah, I grew up in Brussels mostly, and did all my studies in animation there as well, like all my primary, secondary, and university. And it's only after I graduated from my animation university that I came here in Taiwan when I was about 27.
Wow, so first time in Taiwan was that. Now, because if your parents, even though they're from China, did they already have they got their Taiwanese citizenship and Taiwanese papers? Okay.
Yeah, they're Taiwanese citizens.
All right, so then you were 27 when you first came here, you said.
Yeah.
Did you end
to live? Because of course, when I was a kid, I came here like maybe once every 2 years.
Right, because your parents' parents were already here.
Yeah.
Right.
And most of my bigger family, my uncles, aunts, and cousins, most of them are here. So we had families here. We have relatives. So we came for summer holidays or for winter holidays. We always try to come here, like at least once every 2 years for me. from 4-year-old, 7, 10, 13. And then I had a big gap until like I was 20. And it was very funny to, because I grew up in Belgium. Belgium is the heart of Europe. And Europe is a very kind of like on pause place. Like it's very livable, it's very comfortable. Things are really well done, and you can definitely live a very comfortable place there. But nothing changed. Like you really don't really have a feeling that things actually kind of like move in Belgium or in Europe. And it was very interesting to me to have this background of like every 3 years coming back to Taiwan. And as I was growing up, I saw Taiwan grow up as well, because it was like the 80s, and it was very much like the Taiwan economic miracle at the time. So I could see that each time I came back here, Taiwan became more and more and more impressive at each visit. And I could see it change like in front of my eyes. So that was very fascinating thing to witness. Even if, of course, when I came back, it was only for just a few weeks. And
Right,
I was
that's
always in
interesting
family.
though, because when you're coming back, you're still quite young, but you still registered the fact that Taiwan changed from the first time you had come back to, over the years.
It can also very much be because the first time I came back, I was 4 years old, so obviously I don't really remember too much about it. But I did have a very strong first impression. First is the smell, because the Taiwanese smell is very characteristic
Quite
if you grew up
different
in
than
Europe.
right? Yes.
But not just like the sewer smell that was very prevalent in the streets back in the day, because at the time Taiwan was like Taipei was still not the clean city that it is today. But also the flowers scents, like very tropical flowers that we don't have in Belgium, and fruits and all the exotic scents that were really like very foreign to me, and that really like left a very strong impression on me when I was a kid. And then when I was 7, 10, 13, obviously I was like getting more and more conscious, I guess. So I could kind of like piece together that, some things are not the same than last time. Like bigger buildings and more cars. Like for example, the whole roads were filled with taxi. And I was like, oh wow! Like we had a comic book in Belgium. Like Belgium is actually a host of. It's basically the birthplace of Bande Dessinee.
The what?
Bande Dessinee is the French word for comic books. And
That's interesting.
a lot of people kind of feel like in Europe it should be like France. That's kind of like the most famous for the Bande Dessinee. It actually came from Belgium at first, with Tintin, with Tintin, like from Hergé.
Tintin,
Tintin
isn't
is
that a
Belgium.
character? Is that a dog? No,
Yeah,
it's a guy
Tintin
with
and
a
Milou.
dog.
Yeah, it's a guy
Okay.
with his white
That's
dog.
Belgium,
Yeah, that's Belgium.
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the author is Belgian, and he was like one of the very first to kind of like travel the world and try to see a lot of different things. And basically, Tintin is kind of like his alter ego. So he's kind of like talking about all his travel through the scope of Tintin.
Okay. Well, now I'm going to have to go back and kind of check it out.
It's very interesting.
Because it's still around, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Hergé, the author, obviously like died at the end of the 80s, like in 89 or something like that. So the series has stopped. Like there's no new album anymore, and the legal right of the IP, like Tintin used to be like the biggest character on the planet Earth from the 40s, I think the 30s, 40s up to like the 80s. There's actually a very fun story about Steven Spielberg, who wanted to get the rights to adapt Tintin into film in the 80s. So back then he was already famous for Jaws. He was already famous for E.T. and that kind of and all that kind of movies.
Before Star Wars and stuff.
Star Wars was already before. Star Wars was from
that's Lucas.
George Lucas,
Yeah,
but he was from the same class than Spielberg.
Yeah.
Like they were pals. Like they were definitely like Lucas was producing Indiana Jones and all that kind of stuff, and Steven Spielberg definitely helped produce some of Lucas films as well. But so the thing is, Steven Spielberg wanted to adapt Tintin to film, and the Moulins Art studio, like basically the corporation who owns the right of Hergé's work, like from Tintin, they say, yeah, no, Nobody. You're not gonna get it because you're just that little upstart from America. We don't want you. Like we don't want to mess with our heritage. You know, like
Right.
Tintin is like this 40 years long lineage
history.
history. You just started. Like, who are you to ask us? So, what did Spielberg do? He created a character to kind of like do pretty much the same thing than Tintin, but that was his. And what's his character? Indiana Jones.
Oh, but that wasn't a cartoon.
No,
But that was actually the regular live show, Indiana Jones.
But Indiana Jones basically was Spielberg's
Really?
kind of American version of Tintin. And it's very funny to see that nowadays Indiana Jones is so much more famous
huge, yeah.
than Tintin in the pop culture.
Yeah, I guess it kind of would make sense because Indiana Jones went to different places and he
Yeah.
had adventures and stuff.
Yeah, but
like
it was also something like very. You could tell there are some very familiar tropes that happened in both. Like Tintin is also like about traveling all over the world to try to solve some mysteries, and Indiana Jones is the same. It's also like trying to solve mysteries, traveling all over the world, meeting different. Actually, the little kid in Indiana Jones 2, Ke Huy Quan, who did a major comeback recently with Everything Everywhere All at Once. But when he was a kid, like he was one of the child actors that was discovered by Steven Spielberg. And his character in the second Indiana Jones is essentially pretty much the same character than Chang in Tintin Adventure in China, Le Lotus Bleu, the Blue Lotus.
Wait,
I don't know if you remember
Indiana
that.
Jones?
So,
For real?
Indiana Jones, the second episode, there is a Chinese Vietnamese kid as a sidekick,
but he was
right?
in the Goon. Was he in the Goonies?
He was in the
something?
Goonies. He was in the Goonies as well. He's the same actor. And pretty contemporary. So basically, that character in Indiana Jones 2 was basically the same character than Chang in the Tintin album, The Blue Lotus. So you could tell all the little like sprinkling of inspiration from here and there.
Yeah. Oh wow. So was there ever anything that came from Europe that they were like really sorry that they never took Spielberg up on the offer?
I've never
kept their
heard
mouth
about.
shut.
Yeah, I've never heard about that, but I'm pretty sure they were like, damn it. we missed up on that.
Yeah. So so you saw all the changes and stuff here in Taiwan. You already had a ID. I mean, you had a passport for Taiwan just because of your parents, right? Or did you have to apply for it later?
Yeah, I had to apply for it later, but the fact that my parents were Taiwanese already, obviously,
it was
plays a
easier
role.
to be
It
able
was
to do
easier
that.
for me. And also, my dad actually used to work at the representative bureau of Taipei back in Belgium. So since he was already kind of like part of the administration, he knew exactly what to do, and like we could kind of like speed charge my application here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of like made easier thanks to that.
To that.
Yeah.
So then what languages do you actually speak? Because you have to Mandarin. I mean, did your parents make you, were you always speaking Taiwanese or Chinese when you were growing up?
So because my parents are Western, like more like coming from China, they don't speak Taiwanese. So they speak mostly Mandarin. At home. We used to speak Mandarin when I was a kid at home, and even like whenever I grew up. But at school we learned French because in Brussels, in Belgium actually they speak two languages. So there is French on the south part closer to France, and Dutch, like Flemish, but basically Dutch, closer to the Holland, the Netherlands border. So in Brussels, you're supposed, because it's a capital that's kind of like sitting in the middle, you're supposed to be able to speak the both of them. So we had like classes in school. We had like classes of French, classes of Dutch. So I'm supposed to be able to speak at least like 3 languages from the get-go. My Flemish is terrible. Like I was already terrible back in the day, and like now it's been like more than 25 years I haven't spoken it, so I completely forgotten it. And so I had French, Chinese, a little bit of Dutch, and then by watching Garfield and playing video games, I learned English.
Okay, that's see, you know, you can't do that to learn a language because
Video games, people.
because I'm still trying to improve my Chinese by watching you know, series or movies in Chinese and
that
stuff.
works.
And the thing is that for me, I always feel a little bit guilty is because I think, oh, I'm watching a movie or I'm watching a show, and I feel like, oh, is that a really the best way to apply myself to learn the language or not?
Yeah.
But it seems like for me, it
So,
works.
The thing is, I can't speak for everyone, but from my own experience, I tend to learn a language much easier if I have fun doing it, if I'm having fun. So the thing is, my very first contact with English was with Garfield. I was 10 years old. It was exactly when one of the times I came back in Taiwan. At the time, they were selling like these little Garfield comics.
Garfield.
Yeah, but like very little, you know, like that kind of format, maybe like this. And everything was in English, but with Chinese subtitles, which was a weird format, but okay. And the thing is, I was 10, I didn't understand English, I didn't read Chinese, or very, very little. So I couldn't understand anything, but I used to really love the drawings. I thought the drawing were just like hilarious. So I was very curious, and when I bought a few of them, went back home to Belgium, and took like a English-French dictionary on one hand and the comics on the other hand, I was like, and that was my first contact in English.
Oh, very interesting. Now that's a comic cartoon. So
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, I mean, is that how you got into animation? Or I mean, it's different, but it's cartoon, kind of like.
So animation, I wouldn't say I knew I wanted to do animation since I was a kid, but I certainly knew I wanted to draw since I was a kid. Like every kid, I started to draw at like 2-3 years old, something like that. The only difference with most of the other kids, like most of the time with any kids, like they all start at like 2-3. You can tell like they love to do it. It's creativity. It's like complete unbridled, and the thing is, at around 6-7 year old, most of the parents will tell them, okay, yeah, you've been drawing enough, like it's time to do something a little bit more serious, like do some maths, do some reading or whatever, like more intellectual, more like acceptable societally. And I was a little bit too stupid to listen to that. So I just kept drawing. I just kept drawing for like 30 years in a row. So basically, my dad was very much against that as a good like Asian, responsible Asian parent. He tried to really like steer me away from it. And as I said, I was too stupid to listen. So basically, he tried to put me on every kind of different schools. You know, like he tried to put me on like a socioeconomic school. I flunked it. Not because I wanted to, just because it was not for me.
Yeah.
And then he put me in science school, like for 2 years. I didn't necessarily flunk it, but you could tell it was not for me. So at the end of the 2 years in that other school, they basically told my parents, we kind of feel like this is not the option for you, son. And then I went to another school where basically he wanted me to learn computer coding and accountancy and that kind of stuff. Completely flunked it. So I flunked 2 years in my high school and middle school years, which is not exactly something I'm very proud of. But well, he also has a part of responsibility for putting me into stuff that I was really not into.
Yeah.
And the sad part is that I was good at everything else. So French, I was one of the best in the class. Math, I was not bad. Language, English, I was actually much more in advance to my other peers because of my background with Garfield and video games.
Right.
So actually, like everything else, I was good. I was just not good at the main option that my dad puts me in. So after flunking like two schools of that, he was like, oh, he abdicated. He was okay. Just get to that art school that you want to go, at least get this high school diploma, and then afterwards we will talk about university later. And as soon as I got into an art school for my last 2 years in high school, it just went completely like a letter in the post. And it was just smooth sailing. Like I had no problem at that moment.
Yeah, see, I think this is a really typical thing. I mean, in terms of parents wanting their kids to do things, and that your dad tried so hard to force you really to do something that he wants, which he thought would be best for you. But yeah, the fact that, okay, he did give up, and then when you went smooth sailing, when you were in art school, they just totally said, okay, this is what you want to do. We support you all the way, because you went to get a master's degree as well.
Yeah. Well, it was not so smooth, at least parentally speaking. No, my dad still needed quite a few years after I started my studies in animation to really fully buy into the idea that, okay, this might actually lead somewhere. But before that, no, my dad, the problem is, I'm probably going to come back to this topic later on, but we were 45 years apart. Yeah, he had me at 45 years old.
Oh, wow.
So not only we had a very big like culture gap between us, because obviously he grew up here in Taiwan and I grew up in Belgium, so it was like two completely different cultures, but also like there was a massive generation gap as well. So you couple both of these and it's really not looking good for as a cocktail. So basically I had a very like kind of like fraught relationship with him where he was always like screaming at me because I didn't have good grades or I wasn't doing what he wanted. And then like for the longest time, like basically I was a failure in his eyes. And I didn't, well, obviously at first I did care since when I was a kid or a teenager. And after past my teenage years, I was like, yeah, no, I'm a little bit too far invested into my own thing to care about what he thought was good for me. It was at the time when I started to kind of like dig deeper into my like Chinese cultural heritage. When I was a kid, I didn't care anything about it. And it's only when I was in my early 20s that I started discovering it, like discovering Chinese literature with the classic like Three Kingdoms by the Reader's Side and Sun Kong, like the Journey to the West. So I was very like getting invested into like Chinese culture. That's the time I used to start just dressing like this and this and this and this.
Oh, yeah. So you said in the 20s, so you're still like this.
Yeah, so I've been like this for like 25 years now. A little bit less than that, but...
This is your style, though.
Yeah, it's my style. It's like...
very artsy.
I stopped evolving after that. I was stuck in the past, stuck in like 200 years ago. But, you know, it is a style that kind of like represents all the things that I've learned about Chinese culture and history and philosophies as well, and art.
So at this point in your life, how do you identify yourself really in terms of culture or in terms of what you believe or what you think personally?
So that's the $2 million question. So basically I am, well, ethnically speaking, I am Han, so I'm from China.
Yeah.
My ancestry is from there. And I just so happened to be born in France, grew up in Belgium, and spend like a third of my life here in Taiwan. So it's kind of a mishmash. Like I don't necessarily have a very simple answer to that question.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's the case for everyone who has kind of a similar background. But I would say...
How do you balance it?
I don't.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. No,
sometimes certain aspects of that culture comes out in the terms that you communicate and do things or think about things, and other times other parts of it comes out.
So the thing is, I kind of felt like with all my years that I spent back in Belgium and here in Taiwan, I always felt like when I was growing up in Belgium, I never really quite wondered. I never really quite asked that question about myself. Okay, who am I? Like, what am I? Where am I from? Those questions were very far from my mind because I grew up in Belgium and all my friends were Belgian, so I was Belgian. And then when I came back here for a few years, that question was kind of like really creeping up in my mind. And okay, but who are you really? Like, are you Taiwanese? Are you Belgian? Are you French? Are you Chinese? And I never really quite found a single answer about it. Like another big question that kind of like crept into my mind was where is home? You know, like, where is home? Because that when you experience living in at least two different places, you never really quite feel at home anywhere. Like when you're in one place, you think of the other one, and then you're at the other one, and you think of the other one. So you're never really quite fully there. You know, like you always have part of your mind that's kind of tethered to the other side of the world. So for this question, after years and years of like wondering what was the answer, I found the simplest answer was probably the best. Home is where my feet are. Like basically where I'm at, that's home. That's just okay.
Yeah, because the U.S. equivalent of that is
overthink it.
Home is where I hang my hat.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, so kind of like that. Yeah, because it really is this identity thing. I think now because we're older, we're probably a little bit more settled, but that still doesn't necessarily have the question go away. I remember that when I was in my 20s, also, I was starting to accept myself as being Asian and things like that. And then this other thing that happened to me because, and it was when I was 39, I found out that my birthday was not really what I thought my birthday was. That instead of being a Scorpio cusp, I was actually a Sagittarius cusp based on a mistake in the written number of my birthday. And so that I had been, okay, I'm Chinese now. I'm half
all my life.
Now I'm like,
I thought I was a Scorpio.
Exactly. And they're quite, you know, it's different characteristics, you know. So it's just been interesting, the transition
this thing
about
that didn't make sense all of a sudden makes sense. What?
Yeah. So it's I don't know, identity is a funny thing. But you said that you moved here for long-term first when you were 26 or 27.
Yeah.
And at that time, when you first moved back, was it pretty easy? You came back because you had a job at the time, or what decision made you to move here?
Basically, so I graduated in Belgium when I was like 26, 27. And spent a few months there trying to find some jobs. Found a few little gigs for friends from the school who also graduated like before me, so they also hired me for some small projects. But nothing really like groundbreaking. And then in winter of that year, so I graduated in June, and then like 6 months later, my dad, who was already living here, he was already retired. He lived here like for a year or so before. He called me and he said, yeah, okay, I found you a job. Get your ass over here. Okay. Well, so I'm not gonna say no.
Right.
And the thing is, when I graduated, or already before I graduated, I already have like 3 destinations in mind. When I was about to graduate, I told myself, okay, I have 3 things I want to try. Either not Japan nor the US, which is kind of ironic because those are the 2 kind of like poles of the animation world. But my 3 destinations that I had in mind, one was Canada, because the Canadian animation industry was actually pretty robust at the time. And I've seen through international animation festivals that they had some really, really great movies that were done there with great directors, producers, and workers. So I was actually very curious to go there, and it was also like the East Coast also has like Montreal, Quebec, where they were speaking French. So I was like, oh
exactly.
yeah,
You fit right in.
I would feel almost at home. Minus the cold.
But isn't Belgium quite cold in the wintertime too?
Belgium is quite cold. Canada is super cold. Yeah, it's like it's not the same
way
world.
Up north.
It's not the same world. So No, Canada was one of them that I wanted to try. China was another one because back then it was early 2000, no, early mid 2000s. Like China was very much on the rise, and I felt like okay, yeah, it's like it was not yet the China that we know now. It was still under like Hu Jintao, so it was still very much open to the world. And yeah, I was very curious about my roots. I had gone to China like 3 years prior. Discovered it first time seeing Shanghai and being completely like baffled by it because it was the city of the future at the time.
Yeah.
So I was very much curious to go watch it, to go try my hand there as well. And the third destination was Taiwan, because again, like 3 years ago, 3 years prior, I actually did that internship at Wang Film during my summer vacation. And I had a like really great time, really great memories, and I felt like, oh yeah, I could totally see myself like go back to Taiwan to work. So that was part of my 3 destination. And well, my dad being in Taiwan told me, okay, I found you a job. All right, well, I guess.
And it was in animation.
And it was in animation, so I was like,
Okay.
I guess I'm just gonna do it, you know. And so yeah, I came back thanks to that opportunity, and I worked at that company for about 4 years, I think. Little did I know that my dad actually kind of called me because he needed someone to earn some money to be able to pay for his mortgage.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind
The
of like
story
it was
comes
kind of a honey trap, you know, like, hey, I found you a job, but
Now
you
you
have a
got all
house to
these
pay now
bills.
for me.
Yeah. Oh, you just never know, right?
So well, I guess, but in some other way, I guess it was his way to tell me, okay, you're useful now.
Yeah.
You're not,
Yeah.
you're not useless in my eyes anymore. I guess it has some form of wholesomeness to it.
Yeah, so was it hard for you, or was it pretty easy for you to slip into life in Taiwan? I mean,
it was
after
hard.
living abroad.
Yeah. Because the thing is, even though I used to come back in Taiwan once every 3 years, ever since I was a kid, and after 2000, like I came back in 2000, 2004, and 2007. So I had already kind of like discovered all the good parts of Taiwan, all the tourists
Yeah.
from Taiwan. So I knew all the good stuff. I only had the bad stuff to discover. So obviously, when I in French we have a saying that's basically faut pas confondre le tourisme et l'immigration. So that basically means like don't confuse tourism and immigration.
Okay. If you would have said that slower, I probably could have understood it because I took
So
5 years of French.
il ne faut pas confondre le tourisme et l'immigration.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically I was hit by the real culture shock about living in Taiwan and all the. I already knew the perks. I only had the cons left to discover. So so the smell, the heat, the humidity,
Those are physical things,
the
though,
physical
you know.
thing, but also the noise.
Yeah.
Even though we were living in Xinjiang, we were already kind of like living at the same place I'm living now, in the mountains in Xinjiang. But each time I went to the town, because I had to work there, obviously it was super noisy, it was super smelly, super polluted, like noise and lights and colors from everywhere, from all the street signs and panels. And growing up in Belgium, it was a very tame place, you know, very gray, very calm, very chill. And all of a sudden I'm kind of like assaulted, like sensorial assaults from all over all the direction. And I was like, whoa, what's that place? And for 2 years it was like that. And then, so I felt very overwhelmed for my first few months in Taiwan, and at some point I was really like feeling myself, okay, did I actually really made the right choice? All my friends are back in Belgium. I know nobody here. I have some family and relatives, but we're not really that close. So I knew nobody. I had no friends. I was just like métro boulot dodo, as we say in French. So basically, like just commute, work, sleep, commute, work, sleep, commute, work, sleep. And living with my dad at the time, which we were not exactly in the best terms. So in the mountain, I was already a hermit at the time. So
give me your paycheck.
So yeah, basically just living to work.
Yeah.
And because it was a very lonely first 2 years. And it was most definitely not the most pleasant experience, but at the time I was still sort of young-ish in my late 20s. So I used to go out very often. Like I used to explore. I was always a very curious person. So I wanted to explore more the neighborhood and all the districts and all the. I never was really like a clubber before or going out to bars, but since I came to Taipei, and it was a city where there are some districts that are far more active than in Brussels, then I was like, okay, why not? And I did find quite a lot of fun, met a lot of very interesting people, very fun people at these places. Like end of 2000, early 2010s, it was a really fun place, Taipei, as the bar scene and the clubbing scenes. It was pretty wild. I guess it was kind of at the tail end of the wild years in Taiwan. It was kind of like the last few years before it kind of like tamed down.
Why is that? Why is that? It's just a natural progression. People got tired of partying.
No,
There's still a lot of people that do that.
I guess it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I feel like the generation that came afterwards like became tamer and tamer and tamer. And arguably like the governments were doing a better job at sanitizing the city. You know, like making it look cleaner, feel cleaner, smell cleaner as well. But I guess one of the side effects of it was that the whole like nightlife and the wilderness of the population kind of like tamed down as well as a result. I don't know. Maybe it's probably a result.
Well, people get older too.
And people get older. Yeah, the white people get older
get tired
and
of
like, they're tired.
life.
Yeah. They were
all the
like,
time.
3 a.m. We can still go hop at the next bar.
Yeah.
Like now in our 30s, we're like, it's 9 p.m.
Well, so that's the thing is you actually mostly hang out with expats, other expats then. Yeah.
That's one of the things that kind of are part of the answers that of the questioning that I had during of the question that you asked me a little bit prior about how I fit in, like if I kind of like has a sense of who am I here. I can definitely tell I'm not Taiwanese because the amount of time I tried to actually not necessarily fit in, but at least like get to know other people and get to find friends in Taiwan. It never quite worked out, like because I'm so out there. Like I'm coming from Belgium. I'm an animator. I dress like this. I look like this. People are very like here. People are very happy to meet me once.
Yeah.
As a circus freak, you know, as someone who's throwing some spice into their lives and then like never again. Like I try to kind of hang out with them and I never hear about them again. So I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'm a little bit too out of the box for them. Like a lot of people are like, this is one thing that I kind of like lament a little bit in Taiwan is that it's a very efficient place. People are very much it's already early on from the education, like the school system is very much into like grading and like learn by heart, by the book, memorization, do things by the book. It's an extremely efficient society, and people are very efficient. They're doing what you're supposed to do, and it's like service-wise, it's one of the most comfortable places in the world. Like 7-Elevens everywhere, the restaurant, the food, the scenes, all of that are absolutely fantastic. But at the same time, it's also a place where I kind of feel like there's not a lot of people who are thinking out of the box. Everybody is kind of like very boxed in. And most of the time, it's totally possible to meet people who are kind of like getting out of the box, you know, like, and they just got out of the box, that they were like, hey, yeah, I'm outside of the box. I'm at the other side of the street, you know, like the other side of the block, like 20, 30 boxes away. Yeah, okay, see you there, buddy. So I can never really like meet them together in the middle. We can never meet in the middle, and it's kind of like after 15 years living here, I tried, and now I'm like, okay, I stopped trying. So most of the time, most of the people that I hang out with, they're expats or they're like, I'm not ABC, but like kind of ABC-ish, from abroad, abroad-born Chinese. I don't know.
So you actually did go back to Belgium. A few years ago.
3 years.
For 3 years. And what was that? Was it because, you know, you had another job there, or you just got tired of living that life here and you just missed it so much and you thought that you could go back and recapture your
so
life?
that's another fun story. Basically, every time I move to another place, I end up staying like much longer than I planned to do. So the thing is,
6 months, 10 years.
yeah. Basically, the thing is, when I came in Taiwan in 2007, when I was 27, my plan was to stay here like maybe 2-3 years,
Yeah.
like get some experience in animation, and then go back to Belgium and go visit some studios there and say, hey, I've been working at the other end of the world, hire me. And that was the plan, like just 2-3 years here, and that's it. I ended up staying 11 years in a row because Taiwan is black hole. Like basically, it's so comfortable. It's like you step on it, it just slops you in. It never lets you go.
I know, right?
And you spend a decade here.
Yeah, and also we're getting older and time passes so fast now.
And all your friends back home, they already have kids, they already have the families, and you're still like goofing off here, and you're like, what am I doing with my life? So when I went back, I was already kind of like, I very rarely go back to Belgium when I was living here because, well, the ticket is expensive and I'm an artist. I'm really not all that rich. So I didn't really have a lot of opportunities to go back to Belgium. But on the last 3 years of that decade that I spent here, I did have the opportunity to go like once every year, like once every summer for a few months, like 2-3 months each time. So 2019, it was the third time I was going back to Belgium. Again, it was supposed to be like 2-3 months, just a little holidays to escape from the dreaded Taiwanese summer. And I was supposed to come back in October or something like that. And then I accidentally found a job in animation in Belgium.
Accidentally?
Yeah, it's kind of like bumped into it. One of my friends, a little bit of a similar story is my dad. A friend of mine who was at La Cambre, at the same school than I was before, he was an alumni already when I was in the school. Like he already graduated. But we kind of like met through animation festivals afterwards, and we bonded, we became good friends. So when I went back that year to Belgium, I got back in touch with him, and he was working on a movie back at the time, an Israeli movie that was kind of like working with the Belgian studio. So he was working at that Belgian studio, and it was Where is Anne Frank? So I don't know if you know about
Anne Frank?
Yeah. So it's an animation movie about Anne Frank.
Animation. Okay.
That was made by a very famous Israeli animation director who made Waltz with Bashir before, and Congress, I think it was called, his second movie. And then that was his third movie, and it was a story about Anne Frank, but in animation. So we were kind of joking about the fact that, okay, that's a shoe-in for Best Oscar animation because it was talking about Anne Frank and all that kind of stuff. So he told me, yeah, I'm working on this movie. Do you want to come at the studio, see, meet some people and see like how we work? And yeah, sure, okay. And he introduced me to the animation director. We talked a little bit, and they asked me, hey, yeah, we're looking for people. Are you interested? I'm like, okay, why not? I did have to pass an exam test to see if I had the level. And at that time, I already had stopped doing animation for like 5-6 years because I was in a severe burnout from all my years in Taiwan. And that's why I picked up photography, basically. So yeah, we were coming from it for it. But basically, I did photography for like 5 years in the meantime. That's how we met at Red Room. I was doing like the event photography there.
Yeah.
Great years, by the way. It was some of the best years at Red Room. So I was very much invested into photography. I kind of have left animation behind me at that time for a few years. And then I had this kind of like accidental animation job that bumped into my lap. It's been like 5 years I haven't animated. I was like, I'm not so sure if I can do it, but well, okay, let me try the test. Did it for one day, give it to the animation director, and he was like, okay, you got it. Okay, I guess I still got it. Yeah. So yeah, I actually I got to work for that job, and then I had my my flight ticket back to Taiwan. That was happening just a couple of weeks later. So I was like, what am I gonna do about this? And in the end, because animation takes a lot of time, obviously, it's a project that requires at least a few months of commitment. So I was like, okay, well, I guess because it was a non-refundable ticket, I was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to cancel it and buy another one like later on whenever I can. And I did it. So I've been working already for like a month or so in that studio. I canceled my flight, and 2 weeks later, I was let go of the work.
Oh no!
Because even if I was good enough to get the test, to pass the test, I was apparently not good enough for the animation director in Israel. So the core animation director of the project, he was very specific about the things that he wanted to have in the animation. And even if my level was good enough, the style I was drawing was just not fitting. The style of animation I was doing was not fitting the movie for him.
Yeah.
And so I had a few shots that they gave me to complete. And each time we sent it back to Israel, each time they sent it back to me, and I was like, no, you have to retake. You have to redo it, like correct this, fix that, don't do it that style. And it's been going on and on and on for like 1 month and a half. And after a lot of my shots being rejected, they were like, we cannot continue like this, like you have to go. So I had already canceled my flight to get back to Taiwan without a job, without money to buy another ticket back. So I go, okay, well, I guess I'm staying in Belgium for a little while. So, and afterward, I did find that job in that French series that I was talking about, Droners, before. So I did end up like working for 1 year there, part-time in Belgium and part-time in France. And then COVID hit. So during that year, during the last 6 months of the production of Droners, that's one of the reasons why we had to like work by remote. And basically from a little like 3 months, 2-3 months holidays, it became 3 years.
Yeah.
Because of the lockdowns.
Yeah, because you couldn't come back anyway if you wanted to.
So that's the story of my life, like if I go to some place, I want to stay just for a little time, and then it just like get extended. Same here. This time when I came back here, it was again because for the past like 2 years I couldn't find a job in animation in Belgium anymore, or in France, because like the whole industry there is kind of like on pause.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
How did you live?
Yeah, I was living from the savings I had from the Jonas job, but it was like draining fast. And I was kind of lucky to live at one of my best friend's mom's place, who had a spare room.
Yeah.
And I already had hosted his brother at my place, like in Taiwan, for a few months. So he told me, yeah, if you want to come to Belgium, like just crash at our place for as long as you want. Okay, well, I take him up on his offer.
Yeah.
I kind of like overstayed my welcome, I guess, because I spent like 2 years at their place. But it was kind of like a very weird time because of the lockdowns and stuff. And so I wanted to, after 2 years of no jobs, not finding any jobs, another story about one of the jobs that I could have got in Belgium, actually in Spain, like the speed dating kind of like the Anima festival, the animation festival in Brussels actually kind of organized a speed dating events between producers, like studio producers and workers.
I was like, what are you talking about speed dating in Spain?
Here?
You're going to go there.
No, this was all professional, between professionals of animation.
Okay, interesting.
And I did land kind of an opportunity to work in Spain for another very interesting movie called Robot Dreams. I was in talk with the team, with the directors, with the art directors, with the post-production director as well, for a few months. Like we went over rounds of interviews, and each and every time it worked really well. I had a very good connection with them. I felt like it was like going to work. And then the exam day happened. Like, of course, they were choosing between a few people. So it was a compositing test this time, not animation. So just like basically the same job that I did at Droners. So just like putting the animation with the backgrounds and putting the lights, the shadows, the color grading, all that kind of stuff. And it was much more simpler than what I did on Droners. Like Droners was a very high-end series that necessitated a lot of post-production. This movie was minimalistic, so it was completely in my in my skill set. I knew I could do it, no problem. So we had like 2 days to do the exam. The only thing that I wasn't really sure about it was using a software that I've never used before called Toon Boom. I was not very familiar with the UI or the user interface, with how to use all the stuff, the buttons and all that kind of stuff. So the first day was more like me trying to figure out the software and how to navigate it. And then the second day, I actually worked on the assignment. So I save it, I export it. On the third day is the due date. We have to send them back the files so that they can see how we did it. And I'm looking all over my computer, my hard drive, all the stuff. I can't find the project I was working on. Like it just vanished. It just completely disappeared. Like as if the save didn't save, and it was just not there. And I was like, what the hell? What the hell? Luckily, I already had rendered the final shots, so I could show them the results of my work. But one of the assignment was also that they could see how I actually managed to get to that result. So they needed like the working file.
Yeah.
And I couldn't show them.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, and it was still during lockdown. Like it was still during like confinement. We couldn't really like get out. So that was like one of my kind of like get out of jail cards if I could get this job. And because of that quirk fee, like I ended up like not getting the job. Like that was like I had 2 months of lovely interviews with them, all of that just amounting to nothing because of a computer crash or something like that, so technical difficulty. So I was really bummed about it. And the thing is, Where is Anne Frank, the first movie that I was let go of, went on to be nominated at the Oscars. The second movie that I was almost in but didn't get in, like Robot Dreams, 2 years later, nominated at the Oscars.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, okay, animation world, I get it. You don't want me, it's all right. I'm stopping by now, like that. I'll just stop all I'm just stop trying. Or I'm going to do my own stuff. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to come back to Taiwan after all these like failures, like down back to back
these things that happen that just, failures.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's like a lot of people in the industry, in the animation industry, will tell you like, don't take rejection, don't take failures. Like personally, it happens all the time. Actors have the same thing, I guess, being rejected, not getting the audition and all that kind of stuff. It's the same for animators, it's the same for people working in the animation industry. So yeah, sure, you have to go with thick skin and not let it get to you and just like move on to the next project. I'm an artist, I'm sensitive about my stuff, and obviously like it's kind of hard to not take it personally, especially if things seem to go very well, only to be like get the rug like the rug pulled off your feet
behind you,
at the last minute. So at that time I was like, okay, like forget it. I'm stopping to try to work for other projects. I'm just going to focus on my own stuff, write my own script. I've been like having 5 different series projects marinating in my mind for over like a decade at this point. So I was like, okay, maybe it's time for me to just go back to Taiwan, try to make a good use of the little savings that I have left, because life is so much cheaper here than in Belgium.
Exactly.
And I could live at my mom's place, not having to pay rent. So that was the idea. I wanted to stay here maybe like for like 6 months, trying to get my own projects kind of like on the ground, and then like maybe go back to Belgium and try to find some investments there. And then I came back here, and my mom was like, I feel like some weird stuff here in my liver. We went to the hospital. Turns out she had cancer for like stage 4, like the last
cancer.
stage. You know,
what kind of cancer? Her stomach?
It's on the liver, but it's not
in the liver.
It's not a liver cancer per se. It's on the, I forgot what's the English name. Not a kidney. It's a canal that goes through the liver, inside the liver basically. In Chinese, it's Tintin, but I don't know what's the English term for it.
Yeah.
So basically, that part has a big tumor
Stage.
on it. And yeah, like I was supposed to stay here for 6 months, and again, it's been 2 years I've been here, you know. So that's the story of my life. You want to have plans, you want to go to a place with some stuff in mind, and life just, that's so cute. Let me show you something interesting. And yeah, just forget about plans. Now it's been like 2 years. I've just stayed on my mom's side just to, in case something happens, not necessarily take care of her because she can still take care of herself, but at the very least, like be there on standby for in case, in case something happens. And something did happen like a few weeks ago, so we did have to like rush her to the hospital and have her stay there for a few weeks.
Wow.
So,
because of that cancer.
yeah.
Okay.
Because it was infected and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we had quite a big fright at the time. Now she's getting a bit better. She's been back to home for almost a month now.
Did
but
her
she's, like,
cancer, she
slowly-
have to do chemotherapy?
Yeah.
Or so
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, she's
and your
been doing it for
dad's
2
still
years.
around?
Huh?
Your dad, is he still
Oh,
around?
no. He already passed.
He already passed,
in 2018.
Okay,
Early
so
2018. So that was already like 7 years ago.
so you don't have any other brothers and sisters?
I do have a sister. She's in Belgium.
Oh, she's in Belgium.
Yeah,
Okay, so
she's like 5 years older than me. She has her son there, so my
Mm-hmm.
nephew. So she's not coming to Taiwan. Like she has her
Right.
life there, and like he's going at the school in Belgium. But they do come visit like from time to time. Like
Mm-hmm.
they just came like last November. So that was fun to see him like growing up and up and up. Like he's now 14.
yeah.
And he's like almost as tall as me, and I was like, whoa. And he has a mustache, and I was like, what?
Time passes, yeah.
I used to see it as a kid. How come
Yeah.
you have a mustache now? You're trying to copy me?
Yeah. So for your mom, then you're here because of her, and I guess you said she's getting better, but she's in remission.
Yeah.
But for now, you're just here.
Yeah, I'm just here, like either until she's fully healed, which apparently is not going to happen, given how the tumor has been evolving recently, or until the end. So, but when is it going to happen? Nobody has any idea.
Yeah.
So I can be here for a few months, as it could be for 10 years, you know. So obviously at some point, well, I'm not that spry anymore. Like I'm 45. I'm getting 45 this year. It's kind of the last window for me if I want to actually make a project, like as a director, and try to make something out of my career.
You mentioned that you're 45 and maybe that you're getting older. Part of that also, if I'm going back to your mom, you know, having the health issues and you having to be here at this point in time.
Yeah.
What is it that you feel as, I mean, you're the son and you're actually in your family, immediate family, right? You're the responsible person, your son, your sister is older. I don't know how your family goes. If it goes by Chinese, you know, standard tradition or not. But how do you feel about your mom, though, being ill at this point in time? And I know that you said that it's kind of up in the air on what you're going to do, but then you also mentioned you're 45. Is it kind of tied together in terms of your age and her age and what might happen or not happen? Do you feel any kind of stress in terms of your own livelihood and your own thing that you want to do?
So the thing is, ever since I got to my 40s, I guess like I had a very blessed 20s back in my student days, and then a very blessed 30s when I was like that decade when I was living in Taiwan as a responsible adult and independent. And now that I kind of like got into my 40s, well, my 40s have been pretty miserable all these 5 years because, well, first 2 years were during COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
So that's everyone. Like I'm not the only one, obviously.
You lost two jobs before
I
that.
lost two jobs that
Yeah.
all went on to be nominated at the Oscars. So that
Yeah.
was kind of like to add insult to injury.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like everybody went through the COVID pandemic. So yeah, no, that's not new. Everybody had miserable years during these 2-3 years. But then afterwards, obviously, when I tried to come back here to try to get some reprieve from that, try to get like a little bit more the Taiwan boost, you know, because I feel very comfortable living here, much more than in Belgium. And then like I had this news about my mom having her cancer. So now it's been like we spent 2 miserable years living with each other because we're not very compatible.
You're not close.
Not that we're not close. I'm much closer to my mom than I was from my father. Like she was always the most supportive one of the parents between the two of them.
Because you never mentioned your mom before her cancer thing, so I had thought, I wonder what she was at that.
I do have a much better relationship with her than with my dad.
Yeah.
But
it's an obligation.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so
it's part of my kind of like Chinese cultural heritage, you know, like there's this notion of 孝顺, you know, like trying to be filial, the filial piety. Obviously, my mom has sacrificed a lot for us when we were kids to try to. It's the story of all Asian migrants, you know, like all the Asian parents have sacrificed a lot of their work and a lot of the time to try to get the money for the kids' education. So obviously, now now that she needs help, it's kind of my time to pay her back. So that's never was in question. Like I will do it. I'm not saying that I won't feel miserable doing it, but I will do it. It's just so yeah, those past 2 years were pretty painful as well because obviously and to add on top of that, we're living on top of a mountain, super remote from the city, so I don't see anybody anymore. I don't want to say I have no friends anymore, but I have no friends anymore.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't see my friends anymore. So I don't really have any social life.
Yeah. So with all of that, I hear, and it's like, how do you deal with it? Is it like in your mind, you're thinking, always telling yourself, this is going to pass? Or, I mean, are you doing anything that helps you go beyond that? Or is it that you accept that this is your lot in life, you're miserable for these many years? Or is there anything that helps you go through it?
So I guess that's kind of more of a general statement as a creative person, but anyone who's chose this career, who's chose doing something creative, be it actor or be it animation director or anyone who's working in music or in filmmaking or anything else, life is never stable. Like financial security is never stable. Like financial security, pension, healthcare, all that kind of stuff that sounds like a given to 9-to-5 workers. For us, it's not. Like for us, it might as well quantum physics. You know, like we know it exists somewhere, but we can't touch it. and the thing is, I've been through several chapters of like being very much down in the dumps back in my life. First, when I dropped animation after my burnout, I dropped animation. I took up photography, and I spent a few really formidable years discovering the craft of photography, but financially speaking, I was really not doing well. So obviously I was like very much into depression. I had quite a few depressive bits for quite a few months. And the thing that kind of helps me go through it now is that I know I've faced that kind of situation before. I was like completely down in the well. And I always kind of bounced back afterwards. It's just that most of the time when I'm down in the well, it gets longer and longer and longer, and the bounce back is shorter and shorter. But it happens. Like I know that it happens. I know that when you're completely at the lowest of the lowest, well, at some point you can only go up. It sounds very cliche from Marilyn from a Disney movie, but yeah, cliche stuff, all cliche because they're true.
Yeah,
at some
exactly.
point. So yeah, I kind of feel like I've been through like financial misery when I started my photography career, and then I kind of got out of it. Then I've been through misery through COVID, then I got out of it. Now I'm going through misery with my mom's situation.
It sounds so
I know
French,
at some point,
drama.
yeah, I know at some point I'll get out of it.
Yeah.
So one way or the other. So no, the thing is, at some point I feel like things always have their ups and their downs, and when I'm in the downs, I always kind of keep track of the fact that at some point it's gonna get better. Like I don't know how. Now I don't see it yet. I'm still in the dark of the tunnel, but I know that at some point the tunnel will end, and I just have to like grit my teeth and just like go through it as much as I can. That doesn't mean that I don't have like miserable days alone in the mountain in my room, but well, we have YouTube, we have video games to get through it. We have anime, so it's okay. I can manage.
Yeah.
I can get by.
Okay, so you had a miserable life.
How to trend. And now a message from our sponsor.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about martial arts because I know you perform your fan thing. I've seen you do the fan thing, but I've not seen necessarily. Did you use sword?
Yeah.
So you mentioned your Tai Chi teacher. Do you incorporate any of the martial arts or thinking or concepts when you're depressed and down in the dumps with martial arts and getting you out of that?
I wouldn't necessarily say I do it consciously, but I've done like Tai Chi, Qigong, and Kung Fu for like 2.5 years, around like give or take. When I was in my 20s, back in the day where I became like this. So it did leave a very strong impression on me. I was also very much very fan of like Jet Li movies and Jackie Chan movies and Bruce Lee movies and all that kind of stuff. So I was very much in tune with not just the fighting side of martial arts, but also the philosophy side.
Yeah.
All the internal styles of Tai Chi Chuan, for example. So I knew about the soft and the hard, yin and yang again. So I kind of like, I'm also like born, like you were talking about your astrological sign. I'm also born Libra. So balance is a very important thing to me, even though like Chinese sign is monkey, so like it's the most imbalanced one. I kind of like jumps all over the place. So I'm a little bit schizophrenic.
Yeah. Oh, you said it right, not me.
But no, the thing is, well, I guess the combination of all of them is kind of like find the balance in the motion, in the imbalance. Like find the balance in jumping from tree to tree to tree. And I guess that's part of how I am, like who I am as being someone who can be very chaotic in the way I speak and the way I joke with people. I can make fun of a lot of things. I don't really have any taboos, but at the same time, I'm also, at my core, I guess I'm someone who's very grounded, which can sound very ironic because I'm doing animation, which is supposed to be like crazy and doing all the stuff that your imagination can do. No, I need to be Cartesian about it. I need to be like very grounded, very scientific about it. So martial arts most definitely did play a very important part in my personality as grounding me. As finding balance, like because all the moves that we learn in martial arts, balance is everything. Like before being able to like throw a big punch, if you're going too much forward and your balance is not good, you're just gonna fall forward. Like or you're not going to be able to retract it and prepare the defense for the next coming punch. So martial arts definitely taught with my body how to reach balance, and because I know how to do it with my body, I try to do it with my mind as well. And also the thing with both martial arts and animation, I was lucky to kind of like have learned them at the same time in parallel, is that both of them requires a lot of discipline. Because there's so much to do in animation, so much. I told all the steps in pre-production, production, and post-production. And in martial arts, there's also so much to learn, like all the moves, all the timing, all the right angle, the right muscles, the right joints, all that kind of stuff, the sequence movements. So all of them requires a lot of like deep thinking and kind of like putting things in place, I would say. So I'm very good at like mental Tetris. And even though I can feel very like looking very chaotic in life, my room is a mess, for example, but it's an organized mess. It's like everything is at its place. I know exactly where is everything, and so again, it's like finding the balance in the imbalance.
Yeah. Which is
yeah,
your
I guess
life, actually, it seems like it. It's just trying to find a balance within the imbalance.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you know, I know like a lot of people say this and maybe a lot of people don't believe it, but everything that happens in your life happens for a reason. And all of these things, it seems to me, just listening to your story, is that the parts that you failed, I feel like it seems like kind of directing you back to Taiwan and directing you to do your own thing and your own projects. So maybe when we mention it briefly, this is your guidance telling you, and then you know you have to be beaten over the head before
Stop
you get
working
it.
for other people.
Yeah.
Do your own
So
thing.
I mean, this is something to think about when you're moving on in future stuff. And who knows, once you accept it, which is sort of like martial arts in something, you accept the situation and you're going with that flow. So you know, you have a lot of stuff in your head, a lot of different projects. I don't know how far you've gotten into it, but definitely
Not very.
well,
Right now,
you know,
for
it's
now.
just something to think about.
Yeah.
You know.